Well, first of all, I just want to say that y'all are missing out on a little bit of a treat today. My wife is not feeling well this morning, so she's not going to be here. And I was going to have her talk about love languages in our home and how that looks and doesn't work and does work. So instead, I'm going to give you kind of a brief overview of that. In our home, my primary love language is acts of service. My wife's is quality time, and my son's is physical touch. So none of us really share a love language except for words of affirmation. So as we walk through these today, I want to share some stories with you. But the one I want to share with you right up front is my wife and I have been teaching this seminar for quite some time. Not just in the Newlywed Seminar, but in other venues as well. And so I was teaching one Sunday morning up here, and I was teaching the love languages. And I said, it's like I'm acts of service. And so when I come home from a hard day of work, and I walk up to the front, I call my wife the minute I leave the garage, so she knows I'm coming home. So I'm driving home, and I've got my water glass and my backpack and my overcoat and my coat and everything. Like my hands are full. Got my briefcase. I'm full of stuff. And I walk up to the front door, and it's locked. And I'm like, my wife knows I'm coming home, so I don't understand why she can't just have the door either halfway open or unlocked. And I look in the back of the room, and my wife's face just goes white because I never told her that. So guys, communication is one of the most important things that you're going to do in a marriage. My wife has taught me that when I'm not doing the right thing, she lets me know. So I'm not fumbling around the dark. Because guys, listen, we're not always the sharpest tack in the box when it comes to meeting our wife's needs, right? So I'll give you a prime example of that. We were going out to dinner for our anniversary, and I took her out to the same place that I took her when when I asked her to marry me. So we went out to Papados, and we're sitting there, and I just kind of got real involved in Facebook, and so I'm checking in, right? So I'm sitting there on my phone, and Debbie goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm checking in." She goes, "Well, could you just check in with me?" So I've had to learn that, I've got to put my phone away when I'm with my wife because she's quality time. So me being on my phone does not work. So guess what I got this week? I got a meme from my wife that says my love language is texting. Okay, so I'm still learning. I don't want you guys to think I'm up here as the authority. I know the information. I'm still learning. So guess what? You might be teaching me some things as we go along. I do want to say one thing about the Newlywed Retreat. Guys, that is the most fun I've had in a very long time. The good thing about the retreat is in here, there's not a lot of time for us to visit and chit-chat with you guys and get to know you personally. But at the retreat, we can sit around and talk. There's an opportunity to sit around a campfire. But I got to have some really amazing one-on-one time with a couple of couples. And so I would really encourage you guys to stretch a little bit and to go ahead and come to that retreat because it is a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to jump in here. So love language. The big question, practically speaking, is what is love? And how do I show love? Because here's the thing. All right, raise your hand how many people have taken the love language test? Okay, you've taken a love language, so you know what you are. So do me a favor, and did any of the couples in here share a primary? So you have two, you have a primary and a secondary. Do any of you share the same primary love language? Wow, that's amazing. That's so uncommon. And so the good thing is you don't have to learn to speak a different language. So let's just start with this. พ่อแม่ของผมเป็นหมอศาสนาที่กรุงเทพย้ายไปที่กรุงเทพเมื่อผมอายุ4 ขวบแล้วก็กลับมาที่สหรัฐเมื่อผมอายุ18 ปี Got a translator that's not speaking in tongues. Okay. We're in church. Yeah. So are you going to interpret, John?
No, it's only not to.
Well, you've heard this like 15 times. You should know what it means. Oh, come on. I do it every year in the same time. Oh, stop it. All right. Here's what I said. I grew up in Bangkok, Thailand because my parents were missionaries. And I lived there for 18 years, and then I came back to the States to go to college. So here's the thing. Just like you couldn't interpret what I was saying right then, your spouse also cannot interpret when you're speaking in your love language, and they are speaking a different one. So essentially, you're going back to school to learn a new language. That's essentially what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to walk through them. We're going to talk about why they're so important. But let's look at 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fades. So my son is now 14, but when he was a little boy, just like all other little boys, he liked to run around in the backyard and jump on his trampoline. So I came home from work one day, and of course you know the deal, right? I've got my briefcase and I've got my cup. I mean, this is a big deal, right? So I'm walking in the living room, and Jake, coming in from the backyard, is dirty and sweaty and a mess. And he charges across the room, and he throws himself at me. So I'm dropping everything so I can catch him, and I pull him close. But here's the thing: I'm not physical touch. So I'm kind of like really stiff. And Debbie looks at me across the room, and she goes, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I've had to really teach myself to demonstrate love in some languages that don't make sense. Okay, so let's talk about love languages. What does the world teach us about what is the definition of love? Just throw out something. What is love? Anybody? Oh, y'all are one of those classes already we don't talk. Now listen, I was a school teacher in my past life and then a principal. So I will call on you. Oh, thank you, Eva.
Love is sacrifice.
Love is sacrifice. Okay, so love is sacrifice.
Or
What
it's
else?
just a feeling.
It's a feeling? Okay, it's a feeling. All right.
It's what the world teaches us.
Okay, what does the world teach you?
Love is sex.
Okay, love is sex. That's right. That is true. The world teaches us that love is sex. Good. Okay, what else?
But the biblical ways of love is unconditional.
Love is unconditional, right? Biblically, it's unconditional. What else? Anybody? I know some of you, so don't make me call on you.
Love is what you can do for me.
Love is what you can do for me. Right. Okay, good. So here's the thing, guys. Love is not about you. It's about the person that you're with. It's about wanting to give them a demonstration of what you feel in your heart. Now, I will say that love is a choice. Because here's the thing. I've been married for 23 years. God bless Debbie, right? Now, listen, you really have missed... Don't say a thing. You open your mouth back there and you are a dead woman. Ms. Burke, stand up. This is our problem right here in the class. I'm just kidding. We've been friends for... What? Debbie is your good friend. I'm just not. Debbie is amazing. I married so far out of my league, guys. It's ridiculous. Yeah. No, I'll admit that. It's ridiculous. She's smarter than me. She's better looking than me. I don't know why she married me. My family thinks it was pity. They think it was pity. They were like, thank God somebody finally took it. Because I was 32 when I got married. As Christians, we are taught to demonstrate love, including our spouse. So love is a choice. I'm going to tell you something. There are mornings I am sure I'm going to wake up with feathers in my nose because Debbie's held a pillow over my face just long enough to almost suffocate me. Because I am a challenge to live with. So here's the thing, guys. Love is a choice. You choose to love every day. Do not depend on your feelings, because there will be mornings where you don't feel like you love this person. And you know, what was I thinking? Okay, I know that's hard to believe right now because you all love me and it's all awesome. But I'm telling you, it's coming. All right, so let's talk about the different love languages. Okay, I did that one. Okay, the world teaches us many definitions of love. In marriage, we all have to deal with before marriage person and the after marriage person. You should have a sheet that you're filling in. So let's talk about that for a minute. Most of us, if we're smart and we're really trying to snag somebody, we're on our best behavior prior to getting married, right? And then we get married and we let ourselves go. We stop opening the car doors. Okay, so funny story on that one. My wife grew up in a broken home. So her dad left because of an affair when she was 13, 12 years old. So her mother, and she had to do everything. She mowed the yard, she changed the light bulbs, she did everything. So when we got married, we went out on one of our dates, and so I pull up to the curb of the restaurant, and all of a sudden I look over, and Debbie's out of the car and halfway up the sidewalk. And so I just sat there in the car. And so all of a sudden she turns and she says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm waiting." She says, "What are you waiting for?" I said, "I'm waiting for you to get yourself back in the car, because I'm going to be opening doors from you from now on. And when you get out of the car, I don't get to treat you the way you should be treated. So get back in the car, and we're going to learn a new way of behaving, because I want to honor you. I want to show respect to you. I want to treat you well." So one day we went to a restaurant. My parents were following us in their car. My dad jumps out of the car, doesn't help my mother out of the car. And we get out of the car, and I open the door for Debbie. And I overhear my mom say, "Bob, you did a really good job of teaching John how to open the car door for women." It's just a little manipulative, because that's not what she. Okay, the in love experience is characterized by blindness and the illusion of perfection. I think I blew that illusion of perfection the very first time I told Debbie I loved her. I was driving her to school one day because I was working part-time and she had a full-time job teaching. I was looking for a good job. And so I drove her to school, and we had an argument. I picked her up at her house because I live with my aunt. I drove to her house, picked her up, drove her to school, and we got into an argument. And so in the middle of that argument, I look at her and I go, "Don't you know that I love you?" And she just looks at me. She didn't say anything. So for like 2 weeks, I'm waiting for the requisite, "Well, I love you too." So finally, we're in the car one day. I'm like, are you not going to say it back? And she goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, I told you I loved you." She goes, "No, you screamed I love you. That doesn't count." She said, "But I do love you." Okay. So listen, I blew that perfection thing right off the bat. There was no before and after in our marriage. She saw all the warts, all the ugly right up front, and she still chose to marry me. I don't understand that. The after in love experience, a rational, volitional love that is a choice. So guys, listen, again, you choose to get up and love your spouse every day, just like you choose to get up every day and forgive your spouse. All right, moving on. Okay, so there are 5 love languages. I want you to do this for me. When I call out your primary, not your secondary, but your primary love language, I'd like for you to stand up. So, has the leadership done the love languages too? You don't know what your love language is? What is it?
Acts of service.
What's hers?
Words of affirmation and touchy-feely.
What?
Touchy-feely is the one of them?
I made up one.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. We're working on that today, Johnson. We're going to work on that. All right, so here we go. So love language number 1 is words of affirmation. Okay, words of affirmation. So Debbie and I share that one as a secondary. So that part's really easy for us. So we've got one language in common. But, okay, so let me just walk through this with you. Well, before I do that, let me share a story with you. I used to be a school teacher. And in the mornings before school, we would all get in the room together and we'd get into a circle. And we would share prayer requests. And I would hear stuff like, "I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm not able to communicate with this student." And I loved that. I thought, wow, you're not blaming the student. You're trying to look inside yourself and figure out what you're doing wrong. All right? So I'm like, that is so cool. I want to be a part of this school. So we go in one morning, and there was this one teacher. And I'm just telling you, I am so glad I did not try to learn trigonometry from her, because I couldn't do trigonometry to start with, and she was awful. Cranky. And so she gets in there and she goes, "Well, it finally happened." And we're all going, "What in the world?" She goes, "My son finally got kicked out of school." And so somebody goes, "Well, what happened?" "Well, he got making out in the baptistry." So let me just show you how warped my mind is. In my head, I'm thinking, well, that's awesome, because there's no water in the baptistry when you're not using it. And who goes in there unless they're using it for baptism? So that's a perfect place to go make out. I know, wrong thinking, but I'm just trying to be really transparent in here. So then she goes, "So it's not a matter of if he goes to prison, it's when he goes to prison. And it's not a matter of if he gets a girl pregnant, it's when he gets a girl pregnant." Guys, that crushed my spirit. For a mom to say that about her own child blew my mind. And so as I'm sitting there, the Holy Spirit starts convicting me. And I'm like, not going to do that. Don't want to be a part of this woman's life. Don't want to hear from her. Please do not ask me to do that, God. Ask somebody else. He goes, "No, I want you to do it." And here's what the Holy Spirit was asking me to do. He wanted me to mentor that young man. And I argued all during prayer meeting. I argued and argued and argued. And finally I just said, "All right, okay, fine." So I walk up to her afterwards. I said, "Hey, I want to ask your permission. I think it would be helpful for me to mentor this young man. And if I can do what I think I can do with him over the summer, I will appeal to the school board myself to get him back into school." And she said, "Well, I'm not paying you for that." I said, "Well, I didn't ask you to pay me. I just want to help." So a couple of months down the road, I realized the problem with this kid. And so I asked his parents, I said, "Could you guys come over to my house? I want to visit with you about this young man for a few minutes." And so I told Debbie I was going to do it. My wife was horrified. She's like, "Please don't do that. Please don't do that." I said, "Look, if you don't like what I'm doing, don't be in the room. Go pray. But I feel like I need to do this." So they come in, and I said, "Listen, I want to share with you what I've learned about your son. Your son's love language is physical touch, and his secondary is quality time." And this is the first words out of her mouth. I'm not kidding. She goes, I don't want to touch him. He's gross. He's a 14-year-old smelly, stinky boy. And I said, all right, let me just tell you something. Because you won't touch. He found a little girl that'll touch him anywhere she wants to touch him. And your prophecy about your son will come true. Well, what am I supposed to do? Hug and kiss him? I said, please do not hug and kiss your 14-year-old son. He does not want you to do that. But I said, there are ways that you can touch him and affirm him. You can walk by the couch and mess up his hair. You can punch him in the arm. You can bump him with your shoulder. You can swat him on the backside when he's getting in the van. There are ways for you to touch him that are appropriate. And she goes, well, I guess I could try that. I said, good. Let's just give that a shot. Then I looked at the dad and I said, what is something that your son has always wanted to do that you said I don't want to do with you? Oh, he wants to go hunting, but I cannot do that. I just cannot go hunting. I don't like the outdoors. I don't like guns. I don't like shooting things. And I'm like, I don't care. You can take a book and go sit in the duck blind and you can read a book while he shoots, but you're going to take your kid shooting. Well, I guess I can try it. I said, okay, now that's kind of what I signed up for. Now I'm just going to go to meddling. Okay, now I told him that. It's just like that. I said, all right, here's the thing. I said to her, your husband's love language is words of affirmation. What could I possibly find positive to say about him? This is in front of him. What could I possibly find that would be positive to say about him? And I'm like, wow. And I said, well, I'm not sure, but if you want a better marriage, you're going to go ahead and find something positive to say. I said, you fell in love with him. There was something you liked about him in the beginning. Find it again. And then I looked at him and I said, her love language, by the way, is acts of service. She wants you to do something. Well, what would I do? I said, I don't care. Find something. I can't tell you it's not a love language. I can't tell you what to do because if I tell you, then it's not you figuring it out. So she went on a 2-week-long math seminar. She's a math teacher. And while she was gone, he gutted their kitchen back to the studs. He did new insulation, new walls, new electrical, new cabinets, new paint job, new texture on the walls, new appliances. Picks her up from the airport, brings her in the house, and she stops in her tracks because they've been talking about a kitchen remodel for years. Stops in her tracks and she says, how much did you pay for this? You can see she was a joy to be around, right? And he goes, well, I did all the work myself, so we just had to pay for the materials. And she goes, I didn't know you could do stuff like this. Wow, this is amazing. So she started talking about this kitchen remodel. She would have people over to the house just to show the kitchen remodel. She would talk about it and what do you think that did to him? He's words of affirmation. So what's happening there, right? His love tank is filling up. Okay, it's filling up. And so what does he want to do? He wants to do another thing, right? So he can continue to get that praise. Now that sounds selfish, but it's not. Because guys, you want to keep your spouse's love language, love tank full. Because I'm going to tell you something. The reason that my father-in-law and my mother-in-law divorced when my wife was 13 is because my father-in-law is physical touch. And my mother-in-law wouldn't know how to do physical touch to save her soul. But his secretary sure knew how to do it. And so she would pat him on the back. She'd rub his shoulder. She'd scratch his back while they were talking about notes. And that's how their affair started. So guys, listen, I can't stress enough how important this lesson is for the health of your marriage. And some of you may be sitting there going, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This can't possibly be true. But I want you to think about if your spouse never did your love language, how would you feel? All right, I want to volunteer. Somebody, anybody, volunteer. All right, what's your love language?
Quality time.
Quality time. What's his love language?
Physical time.
Okay, are you quality time at all? You're not secondary?
No.
Okay. How does it feel when he's sitting next to you on the couch watching a game or watching TV and not paying any attention to you?
Oh, it makes me really upset.
It makes you sad, doesn't it? It makes you feel unloved. It makes you feel not cared about. Okay. So word to the wise, your phone has no place when you're sitting next to her on the couch. And the remote, she'll off. Okay? Guys, I have the same struggle. Okay, my wife is quality time. I don't get it. Why do you need somebody to spend quality time with you? But I learned a long time ago, if I get up early in the morning and I'm watching TV and she walks out the door, I better turn that TV off if I want to have any kind of intimacy with my wife. Okay? All right. So, let me finish the story. I'm sorry, I have ADD, so I chase rabbits bad. So yeah, it's bad. Somebody's going to go, hey, come back to, not you. I don't want you telling me to do anything. All right, so about 6 months later, I see them and they're holding hands. I don't think she touched this guy in years, and they're holding hands. And then I said, hey, how are things going? He goes, well, we're headed out to Walmart to go some hunting gear. We go every weekend now. So I saw that kid about 10 years later. He was in the, oh, I know what happened. He came back from the military because his father-in-law had a heart event and was fixing to die. So a friend of ours called me and said, can you go pray for him out of the hospital? So I go out there, got a beautiful little daughter. I walk in the way and he goes, Mr. Cullen, how did you find me? I said, well, don't worry about that. Let's go to the chapel. I want to pray for your father-in-law. So we go in there. He tells me that he married his high school sweetheart and they had a baby a couple of years later, and he's now serving our country in the military. I see him about every 3 or 4 years, and they are the most amazing couple because his parents finally got over themselves and loved him the way he needed to be loved. Okay, sorry. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so the 5 ways to express affirmation. So think about this. If your spouse is words of affirmation, how many people are primary words of affirmation? Okay, primary word. Okay, good. All right, so let's look at these. So verbal compliments. Man, you look really nice today. Or, man, that was the best Aunt Bess's coffee cake ever. All right? What?
Always say you are the best.
Yeah, see, that's good. Okay, encouraging words. Honey, I really like the way you made up the bed this morning. I really appreciate that. Or, man, you are the best at blank. Okay? Kind words. Just be kind. Humble words. And words of appreciation. The characteristics. So these are the love language, words of affirmation characteristics. I need to hear you say, I love you. And by the way, let me just put a comma there for a minute. When you have children, and if you have a son, there are 2 things that he needs to see from his dad every day, or hear. He needs to see his father loving his mother, and he needs to hear the words from you, I'm proud of you, and I love you. Every day. All right. I love it when you verbally praise my strengths. Okay? Debbie's always telling me, man, you're such a people person. I love the way you love people. Okay? Verbally affirming me to our friends and family. It makes me feel secure. I like it when you compliment my achievements, what I'm successful at. I need to hear the words of affirmation daily. What's Michael's love language? All right, we'll get to that in a minute. We'll give you a quiz. Okay, what to avoid? Now, guys, let me tell you something about the opposite of doing the opposite of your person's love language. So if they're words of affirmation and you are criticizing or you're being ugly to them or you're saying unkind things about them, it is like taking an ice pick and punching a hole in their love tank and draining it right there. And then it will take you forever to patch the love tank and then to refill it. So be really careful about that. So here's the what to avoid. Verbal criticism. Periods of time without support and appreciation. Okay. So if Debbie says to me, are you really going to wear that to the wedding tomorrow? Well, I'm crushed. Did you do your hair today? I feel useless. I don't want to go anywhere then. That makes me sound like a wimp, doesn't it? But it's true. All right. So love language number 2, quality time. Who's quality time? Raise your hand. All right. This is so awesome for the 2 of you because you're not ever going to struggle with the phone thing or spending time with each other. And so let's talk about what quality time is. Togetherness with focused attention. That's not watching a football game while you sit by your wife. I know, I'm sorry. I'm just ruining everything for you. Quality conversation. Okay, so guys, let me tell you something I had to learn right on the beginning. My wife was quality time. So I would call her to let her know I'm coming home, and then she'd start asking me questions. What did you do today? Well, who did you see? Well, what did she wear? I'm like, I don't know what she wore. I don't care what she wore. I couldn't care less what the secretary wore today. What color are her fingernails? I don't know and I don't care. Why are you asking me that? Okay, so I had to start paying attention to what was happening in my world so that when she asked me what color her fingernails, I go, I think they were green today. Okay, I don't want to talk about that. There's more things important than what they wore in their fingernails. But I had to learn, and then, by the way, not just excuse me, not just ask her, not just let her ask me questions, but hey, how was school with Jake today? How are you feeling? What time did you get up this morning? What'd you have for breakfast? I don't care. I don't care, but I had to learn to ask those questions. All right. Learning to talk. Okay. Any guys have any? Okay. Let me ask a question. Ladies, any of you guys have trouble with your husband being able to talk to you? Uh-oh. You got ratted out twice today, dude. Man. Hey, there's a target on your back. I'm just kidding. Okay. Learning to talk. Guys, I walked past my wife's kindergarten room one day, and I overheard one of our really good friends saying this to my wife. You have no idea what it's like having a husband that never talks. And then I heard my wife's voice and she goes, and you have no idea what it's like to have a husband that never shuts up. Okay, remember your partner's personality type. Okay, guys, this is what I'm going to teach at the retreat. And it's so fun because you actually learn how to effectively interact with your spouse in that seminar. So I really want to encourage you guys to come to that. All right, and then quality activities, doing stuff together. One of the things that Deb and I love to do is go look at model homes. Okay, so we'll go in and we'll walk through model homes. I'm very spatial. There's a story I could tell you about that, but I don't have time for it today. Okay, love language 2, quality time. So what should you not do? Or what should you do? The person without love language was one-on-one time with you. They like to go places with them. I like to be together when we do things. I like it when you listen to me and sympathetically look at me when we're talking. All right, confession time. So I'm on a date with Debbie before we got married, and she still married me. Okay, so this is kind of embarrassing, but I'm a people watcher. Okay, I just like to watch people, and so we're sitting at a Chinese restaurant, and the mistake I made was sitting watching the door. Okay, and this woman walks in, and she had, I don't even know how to describe it. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. The hair was crazy. The clothes were crazy. The shoes were nuts, kind of like yours. I'm just kidding. They're a little crazy. So anyway, so I'm trying. My watching her was not because it was appealing. It was weird, and I was trying to figure out who she was meeting for dinner. So she's walking through the room, and I'm watching her walk, and then I'm not paying attention to my wife and what she's doing at all. And as I finally see her sit down, I turn back around. I don't look to see what Debbie's doing. Her fork is halfway in between her mouth and the plate. And I said, "You ready to go?" She set her fork down and she goes, "No, I'm not ready to go. And I don't appreciate you not paying attention to me while we're eating and watching some other woman." I said, "It's not because she was attractive." She goes, "It doesn't matter. You weren't looking at me. You're not focusing on me." And my wife is not a self-centered person. Anybody that knows her can say she is not self-centered. Okay. I really enjoy the feeling I get when you give me your undivided attention. What to avoid? Long periods of being apart. Okay? And spending more time with friends than with your spouse. Okay? Checking in on Facebook is spending time with your friends and not your spouse. Okay, who's receiving gifts? Now, wait a minute. Let me say something before you answer. A lot of people don't want to be this one because they think that it's selfish. They think, oh, I want gifts because I'm selfish. No, that is not it at all. A gift does not have to cost a lot of money. A gift just has to mean you thought about somebody else. Okay? So it could be as cheap as buying a card, okay, or their favorite gum and having it on the counter. My wife does this really well. I'll come home and she'll have some type of a snack on the counter if I'm home early, which never happens, and a glass of tea. And I feel like I've won the lottery. Okay? So receiving gifts. How do you express that? So who's got gifts? Come on, Fess. Okay, good. Thank you and nobody else? Somebody else not telling the truth. Who's got it? Okay. Well, thank you for being honest. So here's the thing. When you're giving her gifts, she's not wanting a diamond bracelet every week. Sir, what's your name? I don't see. Sir, what's your name?
TJ.
TJ. So TJ, she's not wanting expensive gifts. She just wants that you thought about her. So if you bring home her favorite candy bar or, if you bring home a single rose, it doesn't have to be 2 dozen. Just a single rose is enough, right? Just so that while you were out and away from her, you were thinking about her. All right? Okay. All right, so way to express it, money. So, money's nice. And then a gift of self. So especially in times of crisis. So if something happens negative in a person's life like that, and you're not there for them, they don't feel supported at all. All right, let's get one. I feel love when you give me a gift. Visible symbols of love, gifts, are very important to me. I feel loved when you celebrate my birthday with a gift. I appreciate you remember days with a gift. So Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, some people are like, it's just a made-up holiday, right? It's not really a holiday at all. It's just an opportunity for us to spend a lot of money. I'm going to tell you something. I go out on holidays. When it's Valentine's Day, she's getting a full treatment, okay? Because I know it's important to her. Giving a gift for no special reason excites me. So just dropping a gift off at the house or sending something to the office is really good, right? Tiff's Treats at the office. Something like that. That's a really good way to give a gift. Okay, what to avoid? Forgetting special days, especially your anniversary. Or, okay, so now, wait, that's weird. Just add the one. Especially birthdays. Okay, I just said. Okay, acts of service. This is mine. Okay, and who's acts of service? Who's my buddies? Okay, good. How good is Michael at acts of service?
11.
He's okay.
Oh, he's still okay. Where is he today? Because we need to be. Oh, prayer tower. Well, I'm glad he's praying for Pastor. That's a good thing. All right, so let's talk about this. How do you express acts of service to someone? All right, you do practical things that you know your spouse would like for you to do. I don't know why opening the door is important to me. It just makes me feel welcome when I come home. Now, my wife's really smart, so she finally figured out, when John calls, I'll have Jake go unlock the door. Okay, it saves her the trouble of getting up or whatever. She's in the middle of cooking dinner. All right, the actions that require thought and planning, time and effort, done with a positive spirit. So if you do something for someone, okay, what you just raised your hand in the blue vest. What's your name? Josh, and what's your?
Her name's Jen.
Jen, nice. Do I know you? Y'all look really familiar to me.
I volunteer.
Okay, that's probably what it is. Okay, so here's the thing: if you make him dinner and then you're mad at me, throw the plate on the table. You just ruined it, right? So you have to act like you enjoy doing it, even though you don't sometimes. Does that make sense? Okay. You act your way into a feeling. You don't feel your way into a way of acting. Okay, so you act your way into a way of feeling. You don't feel your way into a. Hang on. You act your way into a way of feeling. You don't feel your way into a way of acting. Your feelings will be all over the board, but your actions will speak much louder than your words. So act your way into a feeling means that you practice the love language just like you would practice learning a foreign language. You've got to practice over and over and over again. I grew up in Bangkok, Thailand. I was immersed in the culture and in the language because they sent me to a Thai kindergarten. So when you pick up the phone and you're Thai and I start talking, they don't know I'm not Thai. But you're not immersed in your spouse's love. What are y'all's love languages?
Quality time.
Both of you. Oh, that's awesome. That's perfect. So here's the thing. If you immerse yourself in that language, do y'all share a secondary as well?
Acts of service.
Wow. Y'all got it made. Y'all don't even need this lesson. Just you can go on to church. I'm kidding. So here's the thing. It takes thought, planning, and time to do some of these things. All right? I feel loved when you give me practical help to help me. What you do affects me more than what you say. I know you love me when you do things for me that you don't enjoy. Characteristics. I feel loved when you help out with my chores. For some reason, Debbie doing the bills makes me feel like I got a warm blanket around me. I hate doing the bills. I'm terrible at it. She's amazing at it. She doesn't like doing it, but the fact that she does something that I don't like to do really blesses me. All right? I feel love when you enthusiastically do some task I've requested. What to avoid? Ignoring your spouse's request while helping others. Okay, so let me back up here for a minute. This is one of the things that my wife says to me all the time. She goes, I can't compete with dead people. Okay, I'm a chaplain at this church for hospitals, hospice, rehabs, but I also do funerals. And so when somebody dies, you got to be present. You got to make a phone call. You got to go and visit them. You got to do something to be present in their lives. And Debbie always says, I can't compete with death. It always trumps whatever I need. And that's kind of sad, but that's the reality of my job. In all of your jobs, there's something that's you're gonna have to work through with your spouse. Okay, so I want to share with you really quick a story about my sister and brother-in-law. So I have 3 sisters. My oldest sister is 1 year and 9 months older than me, and her husband is 4 months older than me. And so they've been married for a long time, way longer than me. And so they went to a seminar on this when they came back from the mission field. They're missionaries in Indonesia. And so they go through the seminar, and my brother-in-law is a skeptic. In fact, I can look around the room, and I can tell he's like, yeah, whatever, this is stupid stuff. Okay, I can look around the room and tell that. So my brother-in-law is saying, this is retarded. Why would anybody need act of service? Well, his primary love language is touch. And so he decided that he'd go big or go home. He's going to see if this really works. So he got home. My sister had to go to a different seminar that night. He went home. He fed the kids, bathed the kids, put the kids to bed, folded the laundry, and made a meal, and it was sitting on the table when she got there. Now, I'm not trying to be crude here for the niece. Are you the niece? Where's the niece? Yeah, I'm not going to be crude here. But basically, she couldn't keep her hands to herself. Now, I say that, she's rubbing his back, she's squeezing his arm, she's touching his hand. Okay? Because she feels so loved. Now, they got into a habit of filling each other's love tanks. And so he came back for his parents' 50th anniversary to the States with his daughter, but my sister couldn't come. So he's back in town for about 2 or 3 days and goes, oh, I really miss Janie. I'm like, ugh. Listen, talk about my sister like that, dude. Come on. Okay, and this goes on for like hours, and we're all getting tired of it. Day 4, my niece finally says, would you shut up? Nobody wants to hear about how much you miss mom. Okay? He goes, well, I know, but I just miss her. I'm like, stop whining. Nobody wants a whiny person in their house. Stop it. Okay? But here's the problem. They are so accustomed to keeping the love tank topped off, and his love language is physical touch, and I sure as heck wasn't going to touch him. Okay? That his love tank started to drain because it wasn't being topped off. And he was starting to miss her because she keeps his love tank filled. He was like a pining dog. Like, you know how a dog just whimpers? My dog does that. When my wife leaves the house, he goes into a major depression. But it was like he was depressed because he just missed her so bad. So, guys, I'm telling you, this stuff matters. All right. So, all right, let's talk about physical touch. All right, who's got physical touch? Okay, let me just say something here for a minute. A lot of times in the engagement period, because we're trying to live the right way, we think we're physical touch, when in reality, once we get married and we can touch, that need goes away, if you get my drift. Again, I'm trying to be respectful in it. All right, so physical touch, ways to express it. Affectionate touches, hugs, pats, and kisses. Okay, characteristics. I like it when you hug me. I like to hold hands with you. Now, listen, my wife and I, neither one are physical touch. So I'll grab her hand and hold it for a minute, and then pretty soon she's shaking it off. Because I'm hot-natured and my hand sweats. She don't want to hold a sweaty hand, right? I don't blame her. All right? I feel closer to you when you touch me often. Okay? My son will come in and go, Dad, will you pop my back? He's 14 and he still comes in and wants a hug. Dude, I'm soaking that up now because I realize, I'm an old dad. He was my 41st birthday present. Okay? I got him for my 41st birthday present. And he's not adopted. She actually had him. He was born on the 7th. My birthday's on the 9th. Okay. So I take every advantage I can now to give that boy a hug. Because I want to soak that up because in 4 years he's moving off. Praise God. Okay. Kissing me unexpectedly excites me. I need to be touched every day. Guys, if your significant other is touched, they need touch every day. That can mean putting your arm around them. That can mean holding their hand. My brother-in-law likes to have his hair played with. So you can imagine while he was down here, nobody's playing with that boy's hair. Okay. Okay? All right. So what to avoid? Physical neglect or abuse. So listen. We have a firm rule in my house. There's never any physical touch that way. Okay? And we're not physical touch. But when I would spank Jake when he was little or swat him for doing something wrong, he literally would get mad, okay? So again, when we talk about the opposite of love languages, when you hit somebody, you just drain the love tank. So Jake literally would withdraw and stay in his room because he felt so in love with the spank. It doesn't mean I didn't spank him because he needed it. He earned it. And I didn't spank him with a belt. You know, I didn't do anything horrible or mean. It didn't have to hurt. It was just the thought of the negative touch. All right? What to avoid? Physical neglect or abuse. Observation. Okay, let's talk about observations about love and marriage. What we do for each other before marriage may not be an indication of what we will do after. I still try to open the door every time for my wife. Still. 23 years later, that's a goal. Now, I've also trained my son to do that because he's going to have a girlfriend someday, hopefully. And so when he gets out of the car now, or my wife's getting in the car, since he sits on that side, he typically opens the door for her. Love is a choice and cannot be coerced. You can't make somebody love you. And by the way, having to ask for your love language to be met does not work. Because, so let me just ask you guys a general question. If somebody comes to you, if your spouse comes to you and you have to ask them to kiss you, does that feel good? Or does the spontaneous kiss work better? Raise your hand if you like the spontaneous kiss. That should be all of us. Oh, you don't like that?
No, I'm active service and like this is
Oh, so you don't want to be kissed. I'm sorry, we've been friends for a long time and this is just the relationship we have. Okay, my spouse's criticism about my behavior provides me with the clearest clue to his or her primary love language. So again, I learned early on when I was watching TV at 5 a.m., because that's the only time I could, recorded my shows and watched, and my wife came out and I didn't turn off the TV, I would get this, I guess I'll go back to bed. Or I'd hear pots and pans banging in the kitchen. Oh, I didn't turn off the TV. Okay. All right. Let's talk. I want you to get around your tables, and I want you to talk about in what ways do you and your partner excel at communicating each other in your preferred love languages, and in what ways do you and your partner need grow in communication to one another in your preferred love languages. So that's an assignment. Talk at your table. Have a conversation. Yeah, I should have. And I'm going to say this primarily to the guys. Just because your wife has a primary and a secondary doesn't mean you don't have to practice the other three. Okay? We should all be speaking all 5 love languages in our homes. Does that make sense? Okay? So even though you have to learn a primary and a secondary, you still should be practicing those other ones because they also add to the spice of your marriage, as it were. Okay? All right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to tell you guys that. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I got one more thing, and then I'm don't make me use my teacher voice in here. Okay, so guys, I've got to run and go manage the invitation for the second service. So I just want you guys to know that next week is on communication. So I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about how to effectively communicate. That means fighting. That means having conversations. That means being honest and open and transparent. So we'll talk about that next week. But I know John's got some other fun stuff for you guys to do.
Will there be homework for next week?
I don't think there's any homework for that. No. So we're good. So I'm giving you the week off on homework. Okay, so I should get some brownie points for that. All right, I'm out of here. Thank you guys so much.
All right, do me a favor real quick.